start, I would love if you introduced yourself and just shared a little bit about yourself. And yeah, just kick us off with an introduction if that's okay.
Sure. I'm Molly Brindle from Saratoga Springs, although originally from Michigan. And after many, many years in the corporate world, 2020 occurred, and I decided I was done with corporate life and I was going to begin doing energy work. Began studying Reiki, and that process went on for about 3 years until I achieved my Reiki master level. So since that time, I've been doing Reiki for friends and family and for clients. I've also taken up the study of Shinrin Yoku or forest bathing, which I've extended to others through workshops just to introduce them to why it's so helpful. So I do love being retired because it's given me the freedom to explore all these things, and also, as we'll talk about, to write a book. So
Wow. And it's even just in hearing all the experience you have. And I love it. And that's why I'm really just so looking forward to our conversation to talk about the things, but also I feel when you are sharing, I feel the energy of just all of it coming through you. So I'm so grateful. And I'm Katie. And again, I am someone who also is connected to energy healing and Reiki and all these beautiful ways of being in the world, and connecting. And just I think that's even how we found each other, was through Reiki. And so I think in a lot of ways the Reiki has an intelligence of just connecting us, and that's part of how this conversation is even possible. So for those who might not know, like I like to ask this question. I feel like it's one I get often asked. And I always love hearing how practitioners and people that are in the world of Reiki, like, what is Reiki? What is Reiki?
Reiki is really the energy of love. If it weren't for love, the world wouldn't exist. Love is all there is. And so when we are sharing Reiki with someone, it could be a complete stranger, and yet the most powerful feeling that comes through us, which is coming through us and not from us, because we're simply conduits for something that which we cannot see, as the Buddha said, that which we cannot see has form. But that form is love. And the incredible feeling of love that comes through us sometimes moves me to tears. I'll feel that well up in me, and I'll feel the love for the person. And when I share that with them, if they give me permission after the session, it often brings them to tears because they were not loving themselves. And so each time we do Reiki, whatever that person needs, there's an intelligence that we cannot see that knows what they need. And that comes through with instinct to us. It comes through as, I think, intuition. And intuition is just energy packets telling us where to move our hands and giving us permission to share that which should be shared and not share that which should not be shared.
I feel that. And what you're saying, it's love. And in it's such a beautiful way to describe it, because I like there's all the parts to the practice of Reiki and what it can look like, but that what it can really feel like. And I share that, like, it feels like love, and it's just this pure source of that coming through and guiding whatever healing or whatever support needs to happen. Um, and that's what I love so much about Reiki too, because it's always for the highest good. It does no harm. It's always for the highest good. And so that it's of love and of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. And where does that intelligence comes from? I mean, it's fed to us. We can't really explain how. I remember hearing once from a woman, she was older and she was reading tarot cards, and I said to her, "What do I not yet know about my Reiki practice?" She said, "You should always say, 'Please share what I should know, but let me know what I should share.'" And I thought that was so perfect that I
Yeah.
usually repeat that. I mean, we're taught to say, "May I be a clear channel for the highest purpose and greatest good of this person?" And we send them love from our heart, certainly. There is love. There is love and energy that comes from us. It blends with that which has no form. But sometimes, interestingly, the person who's giving Reiki does get intelligence on who's there. And there are clairaudient messages, but they don't always come through. Sometimes it's just pure energy flowing for them and not a specific message. Do you get clairaudient messages all the time?
Well, it's beautiful. My question was, I was gonna ask about that for you. For me, I'm more of that clairvoyance and clairsentience. So I'll
Mhm,
see and I'll feel. I'll
mhm,
see and I'll then in terms of the movement of energy, I feel it. My eyes, it's like I feel the presence of that again, like you described it so well, like that pocket. And for me, my eyes will continue to move until it comes to again like that opening where it begins to flow. So I'll be like, okay, I'm okay to move.
mhm.
If I'm working with someone or even myself, I'm like, there's a lot coming through and I'm feeling that and I feel it through my eyes, but I see and connect to like what that might be. Like that's how I'm like communicating it through with the imagery and the sensation too.
Mhm.
And the imagery, it's been an interesting journey of kind of like getting to know those sources and those guides that are in and just leading, you know what I mean, when they're showing themselves.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing is you've mentioned some of the imagery that comes through for you, and you had to intuit what it meant. You
Yeah,
had to meditate on that, do your research on that, determine
yeah.
which is the spirit animal, what it means when you see this. So I would say sometimes the clairaudient messages come through as a line from popular culture, which is interesting for me. It'll sometimes be a song, or a line from a play or a movie. And so I
Wow.
sense the sense of humor when it's appropriate. I sense a sense of humor because I think from their
Mhm.
perspective, from
Totally.
spirit's perspective, we take ourselves too seriously.
Amazing. I
Yeah.
so love that.
Yep. So, but the person who's on the table in front of us is taking it very seriously, or they wouldn't have come. So we can't always share the levity,
Yes.
because they may feel deeply about whatever, either it's deep loss or deep pain or deep fear. And what we're trying to do is eradicate that, help them to get their nervous system under control. And I think it primarily works on that level. Clearing the energetic systems allows energy to flow, allows the molecules more space, to move, and that space creates a sense of peace somehow. Not being a physicist, I'm not sure how to explain that, because there are times when I have to
You're
explain Reiki to people who don't want the spiritual
a
answer.
question, so
Yep.
bring it in. What
The
do you say?
Well, that's when we go into the quantum physics, right? And
Right,
I'll call it the
exactly.
inside out healing that works on a cellular level. And I'll talk about how,
Is.
from what I've read, our experiences and our emotions, whether they're traumatic or even happy, they live on a cellular level. There's cellular memory. And as I understand it, a lot of that is in the fascia, that layer that is in between skin and bone. And that was a recent, we're always learning, right? That was a recent learning for me. And I have not encountered another source for that. But when we place our hands, of course, we can connect with that level, even if we're not touching the client. The energy travels inside them and they feel it. The first thing, do you get this too? the first thing that happens is they start hearing their stomach gurgling. Do you get that?
Yes, all the sensation comes alive because it's like, oh, the
Oh,
body is being felt, and that's
yes.
through the touch itself where it begins to awaken that we all as beings, we have these systems that are working for us all the time, digestively, bringing us into that rest and digest, that relaxation, right? But when we're so up here, we're not in all of, I think, that especially the hands on the touch, or even above, like in the cellular response of
Mhm.
like that level of communication, what's happening on the cellular level. And that's with the fascia too. It's like it coats everything. Like it's
Mhm.
holding all our organs, it's holding everything. When we're working with the fascia, we're working with everything. And
Right.
it's like so gently, right? And it's so there is, and I so appreciate you bringing in like the ability to kind of explain Reiki in the ways that might resonate with who is being communicated with. So it
Well, it's
can
usually men. It's
yeah.
usually because, bless their hearts, they, in the nicest way, they tend to be more left-brained. But it could also be I have encountered occasionally a woman who wanted the scientific explanation. But when I'm working with hospice patients, many times they are male, and so I offer first, the quantum physics. I talk about how we're all energy, all matter is energy, and there's an energy field around us. There's energy flowing through us. There's energy in everything we're looking at. Everything is matter. And so I'm just going to move the energy, and we have 7 energies with energy centers within our body, referred to in Eastern philosophy as chakras. And I point them out where they are, and that we're going to clear them so that the pipeline is unclogged. And that seems to make sense. And then once the energy starts moving and the session starts, sometimes they will say they are seeing colors, or they're seeing visions of loved ones, or they start to cry. And then I know they understand on a spiritual level.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so beautiful how you practice. And it's like, I think part of it too is what I found is like kind of providing context for that safety piece. Like the mind might need that context of trying to wrap around
Yeah.
like what can be such an undescribable experience. And once you are in the session or in the space itself, it brings the Reiki knows what to do. It brings you, and it brings whatever being
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
place of knowing for themselves, which is that's been my own journey with the Reiki, where it's like it just brings right forward and reveals
Mhm.
um, really that spiritual insight and connection that is felt on others, you know?
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's when I was in my training, they referred to the crown chakra as so integral to the person's ability to accept the healing or the energy for it to work, that the crown chakra really has to open. And that, especially also with hospice patients, when I'm working on them, um, that's their connection to spirit, to their soul. So it kind of paves the way for them to feel at peace with what will eventually happen in their lives. And it will happen in all our lives. So it's a connection to our oversoul, our spirit, that which we cannot see, but the light that lives within us. So to take care of the body, which is the temple of that light, is really essential. And that's why, as practitioners, we have to do Reiki on ourselves as often as we can, and to keep our own channels clear. It's the old physician, heal thyself. We are not physicians. We do not heal, but we do help the healing process. And that's an important distinction, because the body really has the intelligence to heal itself, but it's like a candle that needs to be lit. And there has to be a belief system. Otherwise, our mind is feeding the wrong information, and we're still producing cortisol, or just the stress hormone is probably the single most detrimental chemical our body produces. It's there when we need to fight or flight, but not when we need to worry about the groceries. And we're overtaxing ourselves in modern life. And I think that's what brings a lot of people to the Reiki table, is the relief of stress and anxiety.
Yeah. It's so true. And that's where I find this practice, like, it's kind of almost like the tip of the iceberg, how it's like, oh, it like relaxation and restoration, and Reiki does all those things, but it really can bring on that whole system restoration of, like, yes, it will help from the nervous system standpoint of coming out of that constant. But once you come out of that constant, what you can connect to, and then you
Mhm.
named it right, the and like really connecting to that light and feeling like not beyond a mind thing, but like really feeling that and having access to that,
Mhm.
because again, described it like the channels are clear,
Yeah,
and so that access is just available and alive. And wow.
I think
Yeah.
there's more intuitive communication from our soul than any of us realize. Um,
Yes,
and
there's
the more
so
we pay
much.
attention, yeah, the more we pay attention to that which is popping into our minds that's helpful and not fear-based, the more we begin to recognize, oh, that's the higher self. That's the higher and better me. My greatest good, my highest purpose is sending me messages. So I started starting my day during morning meditation, just saying, what does my soul want me to know today? And sometimes it's as simple as be at peace today, or calm yourself. Um, give yourself some love. It isn't always a long chapter and verse. It might be a simple message, but it's always expressed with love. And sometimes the mind isn't expressing love, it's expressing doubt and fear. So you can distinguish the voices in the head by knowing which are the most loving messages and knowing that those come from your higher self.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I feel I will integrate that one, because it is, you can feel like the energy of, okay, like what voice, like what are they kind of bringing? Is it more that fear, that doubt, and that's the thinking, and that's what's getting replayed? Or is there a presence of love, and
Mhm.
then being able to receive that? I think that's something that I would ask you about, like kind of receiving those intuitive messages and connecting into that, like as you say. I mean, what has your journey been like with that, and how might you encourage? I think for myself, I think of that, but I also think just with anyone who might be listening and out there, to connect into that wisdom that we all have.
Well, we all have more wisdom than we even know because our souls have not yet awakened to that wisdom. Supposedly, that
Mm.
process is going on. And interestingly, I'm starting to pick up the messages from, we'll just call them the channelers and the seers out there, um, several of whom I follow, that during the eclipse that goes over the Egyptian pyramids for 6 minutes of darkness,
Yes.
and that's happening on August
Yeah.
3rd of 2027, that may be a point of embarkation of awakening for those who are ready to step into it. And all that really means is an awakening of consciousness, awakening to the fact that we do know more than we think we know
Mm.
about how to heal ourselves, how to care for ourselves, how to care for our planet. We have more knowledge. If we believe in reincarnation, we have the knowledge of past lives that could be integrated, and we could become more aware of the most positive aspects of those levels of existence. But we shall see, because I'm not a seer and I'm just listening to what they're telling me. But I will say my Reiki journey initially was one of self-doubt, that I thought I had, severe imposter syndrome. And I would just pray before I went into sessions. I would just pray to my spirit guides and guardian angels and say, please. It was pathetic. And I'm sure they were laughing. And it was when I learned to laugh, because I was taking myself too seriously. And what I had, that was the ego. So I think the most important lesson you learn is it's not me. It ain't me, babe. And so I will tell people this energy is not coming from me, it's coming through me. I may have some energy that merges with it, but this is primarily those who care for you and love you from other realms,
Wow.
who are stepping forward for your highest purpose and greatest good. And then they'll say, well, who are they? And I'll say, I only know when it's helpful to know. Sometimes I can sense, or I'll get a first name, or I'll sense male or female. But the truth is, spirit doesn't have, they're androgynous. They only identify with the gender of their former existence as we knew them in order to be recognized, like an evidential medium would say, your father is here, because that's how we would recognize them. But the fact is, once we're in spirit, we're light. We're pure light and love. So that's really how they present, is like, I picture them as columns of light, and I feel the presence with me, and I just let it fill me, and it drops in, I can feel it drop into the heart. And I can feel it start to flow even when I set the intention before I've even done the Sanskrit symbols or said the prayers. You can just feel the energy drop in. The more you do this, the more you sometimes don't even have to do the symbols. And the energy just starts to flow gradually because you're attuned to it. But having gratitude at the end is always really important. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's so much in that. I love what you're saying about the ego too in the beginning that you were saying again. And I think I'm still early on in my Reiki journey, and I find myself running into the block sometimes of taking myself too seriously, and or just get, because it's like, wow, like, it's like wanting to get it right, or wanting, because it's such a beautiful practice. So I'm like,
But there's
I
no
get almost
wrong.
attached to that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
There's no wrong because your intention comes from love. So you have to trust that. This is faith. This is what faith means. Right? So you
Yeah.
have to just have faith that they are there for you. Um, and I think we talked about this before, the people wonder if something bad sneaks in. Well, not when we surround ourselves with light, the violet light of Saint Germain, the heart light. We fill the room with light and love. We bring in the light of God. That clears the energy, and that keeps us safe, and that keeps the client safe. So there's no wrong.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the more you work with this, you would
Yeah.
agree every session is different.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Absolutely. And even my own practice of it, like if I'm doing like a self-treatment, or I'm experiencing a session, and the more I use it on myself, I've found the more I've used it, the more it's strengthened, but even it's different what I'll connect to, or
Hmm.
what's coming through. It's,
Right.
I think that's part of what makes me just, it's because it has, you said it too, it has an intelligence of its own. So
Way beyond
it
ours.
is, wait, I'm like, oh, here it is. We're guided. Let's go. It's like, oh, and it's a relief. That's the faith to the point you were just making. Like, there's a relief in that for me. Like, where I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll laughingly, that expression that, I don't know which country singer wrote and sings Jesus Take the Wheel. So I'll just say, okay, take the wheel. I trust you. I need you now.
I love that. I think because it is. It's like, oh, I'm getting out of the way here. You take,
Yep,
you take.
you do. It's like you become, this is the value is we're learning to be the observers. And I think this is what they teach in the Buddhist tradition is how you remain at peace in the world is because you're in the world, but not of it. And I had to really think about that expression. It means to observe, doesn't mean you don't care, doesn't mean you're not sending prayer and love and volunteering and sending money when you can, helping out your neighbor, being in community, but you are not the cause of all the negative in the world and you can't fix it all. The only thing you can do is remain the light and of peace and love, and the rest of it plays out. And it's so hard to reckon with that, especially when everything is so volatile and there's so much war right now. It's very difficult to remain at peace. But this is what we're called to do. And that is, I think, the ultimate benefit of being a Reiki practitioner is you can step aside and realize there's a higher power, whatever you want to call it, that has our world's highest purpose and greatest good, and they won't let us fail. So I have to trust in that and do my part.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, and it's it that on the individual, but also on the collective, that it's all connected and kind of can hold not and what you were saying about again being the light, and sometimes too when there's so much externally around us that is of darkness or is of violence and challenge, it's the reminder to still connect, to bring that forward within oneself, to
Right.
exist in that space as the service and work that can sometimes all be offered.
It's a time to imagine the world the way we want it to be and to hold on to that vision. So that's what I do in my meditation.
Wow.
I send prayers out to corners of the world and people that I can't say I like, but I still pray for them because their soul is not guiding them right now. So I don't mean to, delve into this as from a religious perspective, but whatever you call it, these are just labels. There is a force within us that is not of our body, and it is the part of us that is eternal. So you have to recognize that on some level that we don't cease to exist. I mean, there are people who don't believe that, but when we do Reiki, one of the learnings is, yeah, there are entities that don't exist that come to help us. So they came from somewhere and they are the eternal souls of others. They didn't go away. They're still around. Um, I think that's what really helped me lose my fear of death. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't scare me, not that I'm looking forward to it. I have lots that I still want to do, but I don't worry about that now. Um, I think I've read enough books from people who've had near death experiences, as I shared with you, that helped me understand there is something that goes on and the light doesn't go out within us. So, and that you can really feel that when you're sharing Reiki with someone, you can feel the presence of those who love them. You just don't always know who they are.
Yeah. Can you share a
Mm.
little bit about how Reiki is maybe impacted where you've come to on, right? You named like not fearing death, and
Mhm.
maybe even that good transition. I mean, your book, I have it right here because I'm like,
Oh, thank you.
I know. And just again, a lighter, heartfelt look at loss. Again, it's not that right, but I appreciate and feel like there's levity in that spirit. Like that is
Mhm. Mhm.
that it really, and like that's what kind of how somehow it's communicated through and feeling that. So if you could, yeah, if you would want to, what you would want to share on that, because it's such I and your wonderful book. It's good grief for anyone who might not know, and I'll put that in the notes for everything. But I was moved and really connected to your words and these experiences that
Mm.
um yeah, their spirit themselves. So you feel that in the
Mhm.
stories. You feel that.
Yeah. Well, the stories come from a number of people. I mean, some come from me, because that is what prompted me to write the book. I I did experience, an awakening, like a physical awakening one night around 2 a.m., which is when from 2 to 5 a.m., when supposedly our souls are astral travelers and separated from the body. But in this case, I felt a presence, although I didn't see anything. I don't have your gift of clairvoyance, so that's probably just as well. But I had sensed my father was in the room, and he was feeding words to me since he was a writer. I got the title of the book and I got the first paragraph. The opening line kind of got my attention. My father taught me to laugh at funerals. What? So, and I got up and went to my computer and I started putting it on paper. And I wrote for probably an hour, hour and a half, and then I was able to go back to sleep. And then it was a long process. I mean, the whole process took 3 years, because self-publishing it's a whole journey of learning, but also collecting the stories from other people who knew that I had started to write this. And friends would encounter someone who had a story and then ask their permission to share it with me, put me in touch. So I got a variety of stories. What really came through was a lot of mothers connecting with daughters and wanting to either apologize or reassure them. Either something had gone wrong in their relationship or they hadn't gotten to say something. And so it's a variety of things. They're not ghost stories, they're experiences that people had, and they wrote them. And then I just edited them to give everything context of, being written in the third person. So I got all their sign off and permissions and put it all together, and then had my friend Betsy Seplowitz from Nourish Designs do the mandalas, for each story. So she read each story and then curated, a sacred geometry to go with it, uh, right down to the colors that she chose. So sacred geometry came to her, and when I was doing Reiki on her, that's what the message that came through. She started doing this with her children during the pandemic to keep them amused, but there's an energy to her designs, and I can feel that when I go into her store. It'll hit me in a chakra, and, so I that's how I knew that she was to do the designs for the book. And then the green heart on the cover was a crystal that I have, and it's a beautiful crystal. It was, shot by a friend of mine while he was battling cancer, and he survived a very serious cancer. So the whole book was an act of love and a team effort, and I'm so pleased that it's out in the world, and it isn't ever gonna be on a bestseller list because it's a tough subject. Grief is a tough subject for people, but it's there when people need it, and that's how it's being given to people who've experienced a loss. So, what the other funny part was I discovered how many other books are of the same title. That was that was when I wanted to say, "Dad, why'd you give me this title?" He never answered. Oh, well, I'm in good company, I guess, with a lot of other books called Good Grief, like one by the medium, the Long Island medium with the big hair who was just in town, Teresa Caputo. She
Seriously.
also wrote a book. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's where the book came from, and perhaps there will be other books. At the moment, I think I'm still shepherding this one through and working with it. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about it, because that's really how it moves organically through people's
Yeah.
awareness. It's just going to be out there for a while to help people when they have a need. And sometimes I just gift it to people who've had a loss, because that's what it's there for. The first thing when our basement flooded last week, I ran down to rescue was my books. So, they don't do well in the damp.
No, they're so beautiful, and it's when I started, I immediately was just brought in, um, and again, I appreciate your how you can use word to capture or connect to that. That's like the I felt love in the writing. I think is
Yeah.
what I can what it was all heart. It was all heart,
Mhm.
like right.
Well, thank
It was
you.
like
That's what I
all
wanted.
heart.
I wanted people to know how much they are loved and that the love doesn't die. And really that grief is an expression of great love. So when you're grieving, you're showing love. But here's the rub. If you grieve so hard, you know about our vibrational level, right? It's normally 62 to 72 megahertz. When we're grieving really hard, we're not sleeping, we're not eating, we can't function, we might not be going to work. We're lowering our vibrational level to the point where our loved one from beyond the realm, they can't reach us. They can't send the dream or turn the lights off or um, move objects to get our attention, because we don't have the awareness level. So we need to, not that we don't need to grieve, but we need to understand that there comes a point where we can connect with them if we can just lift our heart a little bit, lift our vibrational level, understand that they are still there and be able to connect with them. And that is so reassuring for people.
There's compassion in that, I feel like you can feel, but
Mhm.
to feel right that presence, to also feel for yourself, and there's
Mhm.
that need for that care because we are in a physical form, like right where
Mhm.
there's certain things that are needed to energetically exist in this way, and everything is energy as we know, and so even the
Mhm.
fuel and the activity, all of how that is a part of maybe even the awakening and the receiving, right? What is in these
Mhm.
connections that with those beings that they're here, they're everywhere, but if we're able to be and see and sense that that can often be like can I feel my own self, my own experience, be connected enough there.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
The funniest experience, which I did share in the book, which was just truly mind blowing, but also very humorous, was when I went up to what's called a gallery reading, where a medium reads the room or just waits for spirit to connect and then finds the person by describing what the spirit is telling her. It's usually a her. Uh, so in this case, there were 13 lucky number tickets, and to my surprise, we got one. So we were going to give it to a friend who was sitting at the same table who'd had a loss recently. So my daughter and I agreed that was the plan. Lo and behold, our number got called kind of near the end of the reading. I'm sliding the ticket across the table to her, and I get caught because the medium comes around and she locks eyes with me and she says, "Your father says that's just the way you are, always giving yourself away." I went, "Uh-oh." So then she goes on to say, "Well, before I read your friend, He wants you to know that he went along on your trip to France when you and your husband couldn't find good coffee. Coffee was his favorite drink. So he was, he was there and laughing when you couldn't find coffee after getting off the plane. But he really, on your other trip, he liked going to England and Scotland more. And the next trip he's taking is Italy, and he's got his bag is always packed and he's ready to go. Now, this woman had never met me before. She had no way of knowing we'd been on these trips or that we couldn't find coffee. And it wasn't me who was going to Italy. It was my brother. So my brother didn't believe me when I told him that, because that's not his belief system. But it kind of lightened up the mood in the room, and that was what my dad always did. He had the ability to get everybody laughing. And there had been some really sad things that had come out of this woman's reading of different losses that were painful and raw and real and recent. But mine wasn't. I mean, he died 2 decades ago. So it was easier for me than to laugh and enjoy the moment. And at the end of the evening, I think I shared this story with you. I was surrounded by the smell of coffee. And I'm looking around the room thinking, oh, I would love to get a cup of coffee. There was no coffee anywhere. And I said to my daughter, do you smell coffee? Nope. The coffee was just for me, and it was Dad. So he sent me coffee. Yeah. Pretty powerful.
Oh,
Yeah. No, it took him a couple
yeah.
decades to achieve all that. But he's become pretty masterful now.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. No, but he
Mm.
doesn't connect with me all the time. That I haven't heard from him in a long time. Yeah, he's got other business. He's got other things going on. Um, but he was there to help me get this
Wow.
project done.
Mm.
Yeah. So I included that in
Wow.
the book. I figured he meant for me to, because it was near the end of writing it. So I wrote it into the story because I thought it was funny. And I wanted to share that. Yes, within years, when you've adjusted to your grief and your loss and you understand more about yourself, there are ways they can connect with you that can be so profoundly comforting and loving. But it comes when you need it, not always. Because they know. They just know.
Wow. Mm.
See, you'll write a book someday.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's even like in week, it's like I hear my mind. I'm like, how do you connect in the day, like with your dad and things? But it's like it's you're so what you speak, it's what you know. It's like they know and they know and they know what you need and they know
Mhm.
when that's needed. Not all the time or
Sure.
every day, but come through those.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
just like that, knowing that you know, and we've talked about this, that you are now working with horses and that this is a part of your calling. You're not just working with people, you're helping horses heal their stress and anxiety or their pain or inflammation, which they have plenty as beasts of burden. So since I worked in the racing field, I have followed what you're doing, and I think that this is something that you may find a way to share, whether it's digitally or through live streams like this. I think you're going to find a way to share that so that others will accept the fact that this is safe for horses. Because I have found that not
Yeah.
that many people have allowed me in. Maybe they're just worried for safety of the person because they can, they're big animals.
Mhm.
You don't have to be right on them as you found to send them the energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
pick up on it.
It's they do. They get it. And I yeah, I so appreciate you bringing that in because I think that's a little bit of like almost even like what you were hearing. You're like, oh, the book in the middle of the night where you're like, this is coming through me. Like for me, part of what's really been surfacing is seeing. I see the animals, but I see the horses. I'm
Hmm.
like, I see the horses, and it's they're they're so they get energy. They just get it. And
Absolutely.
for me, like in experiencing it now, like it's shifted my relationship because I noticed Katie, me, the person, was having all this fear around this racing and what like was it, and all of those things. And I really came to a place, and I think in really connecting to the Reiki, having it heal my own relationship with the racing and that question and that fear. But once I've done that, I'm like, it's all beings have this purpose and all beings have this power. And really respecting the sovereignty of all those beings and the animals and the horses themselves, to trust that they know, just
Mhm.
like we know, like they know. and
Mhm.
and um there's a I love how you bring in levity, because I that's part of like what I connect to. Like I connect to like just this more joyful place within, and this levity and this light and like this laughter. But even that, I find with the animals, like they are playful, like that are coming in, and even how they're responding to the Reiki, like they're shaking their head, or they're kind of like, oh, there's like a silliness to it. And so experientially with the energy, it's like they're embodied with it. So again, how
Mhm.
it's in their physical being, it's 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 beautiful to see.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Well, they feel our auras. I don't know if they see them, but we haven't talked about auras, the energy field that's around us and how it has a
Yeah.
color, right? Because all vibration and sound, everything materializes as an expression of energy. And so auras by some people can be seen. Green is usually a good color. But I think that dogs in particular, I had an experience with a dog yesterday where I was doing something silly and the dog didn't like it, and it growled at me because it didn't like that. And then it started looking at me warily, but we had just been cuddling and having treats. Well, this is a dog that has experiences. It's a rescue. It has experiences that I don't know about. So I gave it some space, and then I stood and I apologized to the dog. And I said, I'm really sorry if I made you scared. It wasn't my intention. And I do love you. And we'll make friends because we are friends. We'll make friends again when I come next time. But I talked to the dog as if the dog would understand. Well, as I was expressing that, even if the dog didn't understand my words, it understood the energy of the words. And if it sees energy fields, as I've heard they do, I was trying to give off the color of calm and love so that the dog would not be triggered by something. Um, we were playing peekaboo, and whatever that was, for whatever reason, that was a bad thing. Uh, you do it with babies, but I don't think dogs like it. So no more peekaboo. So
No
I
more
believe,
peak, but that's yeah, you were
yeah.
saying.
Well, I think the horses pick up on energy. They pick up the energy of fear for sure around
Yeah.
people.
Oh, yeah.
So that's your energy. Yes, we have to calm ourselves in order
Mhm.
to send out the right energy message to them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no faking it with an animal. There's no like, "Oh, I'm fine, or things are okay." Like, it needs to
Nope.
come from a place where, because 'cause they'll smell it, like, they'll smell it, or they'll s and I had this experience where I wasn't even can I because I sensed I was working with a horse, and this horse didn't. I, like, always ask consent. I'm like, "Do you want the Reiki?" Like, "Do you" like, I and they're just I'm connected to it. I'm like, "I'm here to offer it whenever there might be a want, but no force." But what I noticed came through, I was like, I'm just gonna kind of be here and just kind of even meditate and receive in this. And what came through was like how the horse was seeing And it was a really interesting, like, they see us again, how so many of these guides do. It's like they see us perfectly. They see us in that beautiful light
Mhm.
of love. Like, and I was just, oh, I'm here. And I'm being seen in this way. And I felt like this horse Titan, it wasn't my aura that I was gonna, it was my chakras. I felt like all that was like seeing through almost the physical, the flesh form, and just into, again, the true energies that are, and in the colors and in all of the qualities of it. And I was like, it just, a wave of peace
Mhm.
came
Yeah.
in that, and
That
clarity of
came
like, oh wow.
Did that
Yeah.
come from the horse to you?
I felt it. I felt so.
Yeah.
I that was like
Mhm.
was getting, I was
Yeah.
seeing kind of through his eyes, which was,
Yeah.
I didn't connect. I didn't connect to the Reiki where I was offering, or like,
Mhm.
channeling that. I was like, I'm just more here
Isn't that beautiful? So
with,
there was a
and
reciprocity. Well, there's a reciprocity in all of
yeah.
nature. I mean, the practice of Shinrin Yoku, forest bathing, we just did a workshop last night, and it was really about understanding the reciprocal relationship with trees and how trees have energy and wisdom and healing. They can help us clear our chakras, uh, but they have personalities. So people see them as just trees that help take our carbon dioxide and give us oxygen, but it's way more than that. And so people, but everyone's experience is different with trees, and some people saw chakra colors and others saw visions or had childhood memories come back. um, Others just felt calm, but everybody felt better at the end of the session after spending just 15 minutes with the tree, because the trees have organic compounds that help produce NK white blood cells, the good white blood cells, and they have an energy that's very healing for us. So I want to recommend hugging trees, but hugging trees with permission and open hearts and
Permission.
honest intentions. Yes. And the reciprocity is the tree offers you something, but what can you offer the tree? And there's the reciprocity you experienced with the horse. So, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Energy travels two ways. It's always moving.
Yeah. It's, it is. And I think for me, it like it took me, like, I showed up there, and I often think sometimes too, it's like maybe in more of the human way, it can be like there's this divide. Like, I'm a human, but it's like we are all connected. And
Mhm,
even like coming into that, knowing that we're always in reciprocity. And so, like, can I take in? But, and then also, so for me, what's moving, like, I'm feeling so grounded and just embodied with, again, when I'm around trees and just the expanse and that cocooning, but like offering up that appreciation or that awe and having that.
mhm,
And it's kind of what, to what you were saying, like, even if it's not understood through the word of like how you were communicating with that dog, like, the energies know as you're expressing, like through your
mhm,
aura or through your presence or through even your intention to let whatever come through you and from you.
mhm.
um and then also
Yeah.
receive. I think that for me was like, it was a moment of just coming more back into presence, like opening to receive. That always too, sometimes I find with my own Reiki practice, it's slowing it down enough to just say, I'm open to receive. Like, I
Mhm,
don't need to know. I'm just open to receive.
mhm.
And when we do open to that, like, we kind of find, yeah,
Well, we find we will receive, right? Yeah.
yeah,
That's kind of the key to manifestation, which I'm not a big practitioner of, but I call it intention, just setting
mm,
intention. And being able to set an intention to receive is just opening. It's opening your heart. We haven't really talked about the importance of heart coherence right now. Uh, the
yeah,
Yeah, the difference between what the mind is telling us and what the mind's purpose is in keeping us safe and well, keeping all the systems in our body running, and the fact that there are 40,000 neurons in our heart and billions of neurons in our gut, and we have to learn to trust our heart and our gut instinct, because the heart coherence, the connection between the heart and the mind, is what the Heart Math Institute is studying out in California. It's what scientists are perceiving now is more of what should guide us, or where our real essence lives, is in the heart chakra. So that's very important to keep that clear. And that's where the intention, the purity of our intention comes from, right from the heart of the matter.
The heart. Because I very like it's my favorite sensation, and it's when I feel that, and just all when you're talking,
Yeah.
that gush. I was like, oh, it's like I'm just gonna let it go right in the heart,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, and it makes sense though. It's like that's the
Hmm.
very like make like our first part, adamantine particles. Like this is what we come from, the heart, and so it
Hmm.
has its own intelligence. It's
Hmm.
so why feels
Yeah.
good, connects
Yeah.
us. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't. It just is whole
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
like
Yeah. It's the
yeah.
fullness of life when we can express ourselves from the heart or make decisions from the heart. We're not allowing the doubt and the fear that the mind creates to enter into it. Um, we're thinking for the highest purpose and the greatest good, and that's what the heart perceives, I think. So I don't exactly understand how that works, but from what I have read, the divine spark that lives within us is within the heart space. So it's like the burner or the pilot flame, if you will, and that's where it lives. So keep your flame burning, and
Uh,
rely on your flame and keep it clean.
yeah. And that it reminds me of what you were saying earlier on. It's like that eternal right light
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
there, and that's even the moment you talk about, like, at the end of the Reiki session where it's, like, the gratitude. I find myself,
Hmm.
like, feeling the shared eternal, where
Hmm.
it's, like, you're it's just there's
Hmm.
gratitude,
Yeah.
and it's, like yeah,
Well, it's
yeah.
it's the peace that surpasses all understanding. It's the unconditional love that animals give us. Um, it's beyond our ability to truly feel the depth of that as humans, but we get little glimpses of it. So I
Mhm.
guess when you're practicing Reiki, you're getting little glimpses of heaven, because that's just another state of consciousness. It's not a place, it's just a state of being in which we live in peace and harmony, unconditional love, and non-judgment. And as humans, all those things we're constantly struggling with those. And the struggle is part of our journey. It's part of how we're learning. But sometimes it creates blockages and difficulties in our life that we have to learn how to surpass. So during those Reiki sessions, it's like an interlude, a moment when we get to experience something really different, for which we're grateful.
Mm. Wow. We've already been talking for an hour, which is
Oh,
pretty
wow.
incredible.
Thank you.
And
Well, I
I'm wondering,
appreciate this opportunity. That was so nice of you to set this up.
no, I so appreciate it. I'm just wondering if there's anything else you would like to share and about the work that you're doing, about your book, about anything else that you'd want to share that feels right to share.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, the book is it's available at North Shore Bookstore in the grief section for those who might want a copy. It's also available on Amazon and let's see, Balboa Press, but that's a little more complicated. The publisher, of course, sells it too, and I think it's through Barnes and Noble, and it's also an ebook, and it's only 92 pages, so it downloads pretty quickly as an ebook, and that's so inexpensive anybody can afford that. Other than that, I do Reiki sessions for people at Complexion Spa in Saratoga most Thursday evenings. Doing one tonight, and my journey goes on because we're becoming grandparents. We're going to take a little time off to go be grandparents and celebrate life. Yeah.
Wow.
When I look in that baby's
Wow.
eyes, someone just said this on something I was watching today, Suzanne Giesman, who's a wonderful medium herself. It's when you look in the baby's eyes, you are really looking at the purity of its soul when it's just awakened. And then because as it begins to live and it realizes that it has physical needs, some of that, the purity of that connection fades. But I am not going to miss those first moments of holding that little guy and looking in his eyes and telling him how much I love him. So, and I'm going to take that right to my heart. In fact, it makes me want to cry just thinking about it, but in a good way. In a good way.
Feel it. I'm like, it's
Ooh, yes.
true.
Yeah. It's a
It's just
miracle.
seen way. It's a miracle, and just through those eyes, because
Yeah,
it just you it's felt, and so please soak and just take all of that in.
I will.
It's so
I will take that in. Yep. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Katie.
thank you so much. I always just feel so much in our exchange, and it means so much. It really it's special to me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad we've connected and more to
Yeah.
come. And
More to
hopefully
come.
you can come over and see my Zen den when it is
Yes!
cleaned up from the great flood of last week. It's the whole basement flooded. So no Reiki going on at home right now. Oh well.
Just
It'll come back.
yes, it
Yeah,
will
it
come
just
back.
kind of cleared the deck
Oh,
so I could go to the baby, right? No distractions. So it's funny
it's
how that works.
exactly. It's like, oh, okay.
Uh,
Oh,
all right. Take care until next time.
thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.